Hello and welcome to Capacity TV. I'm delighted to be joined today by Michael Wheeler from NTT Communication. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, Paul.
Michael, NTT as a company has made some recent announcements, one of which I think was a pop in Jakarta. Perhaps you can explain to us why Jakarta and sort of what's next in Asia.
Yeah, Jakarta has been one of the newest places we've had a POP deployment. We've had, over the last couple of years, quite a lot of deployments, some in Europe and various cities, as well as Sao Paulo in Latin America. So Indonesia specifically was just a market we hadn't deployed a POP in, and really just from an opportunistic point of view was a great place to grow. There are a few other places that we're in the process of finalizing right now. Can't make any announcements today yet, but Asia as a region is a fast-growing region that we really want to capitalize on and continue to see grow as a part of our overall network.
Michael, we were delighted recently to have you on a panel at Capacity Asia, where the theme of that panel was content and OTT. So part of that discussion there was talk about SDN. What does SDN mean for NTT Communications?
SDN for us is a critical part of our operational infrastructure, and it actually has been for well over a decade. Software-defined networking has become kind of the marketing buzzword around this in the last couple of years. But for us, it was really a set of configuration and management tools that we use to manage the network on a global basis. NFV is another kind of side discussion is related to SDN, so network function virtualization. We really kind of attach the same SDN label to both of those things from our point of view. But for us, it's an operational element that allows us to really have the right OpEx cost structure and kind of interaction with customers that we need to have on a provisioning side. It's not something we've deployed as a service to customers or selling as a service. It's just an internal capability that we have, but it allows us to run the network in a way for our customers to have, I think, the best experience they can.
On that panel, there were content providers. So what are the sort of trends, challenges, and opportunities for NTT in the content space?
Content, as a whole, is certainly a big part of what's driving usage of the internet and driving usage for whether it's business or consumers. We really see video as the biggest part of that content flow, but there's several other, large growing content areas, particularly like streaming audio. So, Spotify, Pandora, those are, really driving a lot of use in that regard. And so, for us, it's making sure that we have the right network elements in place, the right scale in place to provide those bigger customers access to the right kinds of volumes of bandwidth and capacity geographically distributed to get to the customers they're trying to get to.
And recently there were some acquisitions announced, one of which was Vitella, the other one was Raging Wire. Perhaps you can talk about how that complements your M&A strategy.
We've been fairly busy on the M&A front in the last couple of years, but the most recent acquisitions are, I'd say, fairly unique of each other, but certainly part of the overall puzzle. So for Raging Wire, as a data center provider with infrastructure in both Northern Virginia and in the Bay Area, those are two hotbeds of co-location requirement set, and where a lot of those content companies need to be placing their gear and putting infrastructure in place. So Raging Wire was something that just complements other acquisitions we've done over the last couple of years, like Gairon in Europe, NetMagic in India, and then some of the facilities we built ourselves from the ground up in, like, for example, Hong Kong and Singapore. So for that, it was a core part of that strategy, but we'll probably continue to do those kinds of acquisitions at an opportunistic level in the future. Vertella was a little more operationally oriented. Their customer base at the enterprise level regards them very well. And we want to be able to leverage some of the processes and structures that they use to serve those customers historically and integrate those into some of the operational pieces for our private network business.
I mean, as we're seeing at capacity events, the customer base is always expanding, and enterprise is key. So how nimble do you have to be to serve the needs of the enterprise customers?
I think being nimble in general terms is always very important, but I think today for the larger enterprise customers, scale is actually slightly more of a higher priority than being nimble. And scale for us in regards to things like opening POPs in markets that we aren't in today, adding additional services or additional products that haven't been available in the past. Nimbleness is certainly always important, but creating that scale for those enterprise customers as they grow on a global basis is really, I think, a priority for our business right now.
And how are you seeing that this enterprise base or customer base, are they demanding that they have real transparency on the network? Are they wanting to take more control?
It varies a little bit from customer to customer, but in general terms, transparency is a critical part of how they're trying to manage their businesses. So from a cloud offering point of view, transparency at the application level as well as on the network level are really important. And we're providing certain tools to customers, but also providing them a way in which we can get get feedback about what they want to see going forward in regards to transparency. Some customers want to hand over some of those things and not have to deal with that infrastructure to a provider like ourselves, and so we want to make sure we can accommodate that kind of a requirement as well.
Well, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us.
It's great to be here.